Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dismantling You Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Pineda. I'm an international yoga and meditation retreat leader and a 2-time TEDx speaker. In this episode of the Dismantling You Podcast, I'm talking with Hollywood master hypnotist and board-certified hypnotherapist, Kevin Stone. He is recognized as the #1 global expert and authority on hypnosis, as well as America's most trusted and awarded hypnotist. Kevin's hypnosis techniques are sought after by world and business leaders, top athletes, celebrities, and he helps hundreds of people daily to improve their lifestyles for the better. So before we get started, if you are new to the podcast, be sure to subscribe to be notified when new episodes release, and don't forget to leave a review. The more reviews and shares that we get, the more people we can reach, and you never know when an episode can impact someone's life. Stay tuned now for my conversation with Kevin. Welcome to my podcast. Your journey is so fascinating, being a hypnotist to the stars. But let's take a step back and tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm a board-certified hypnotherapist right here in the state of California. And I have a big clinic over in Beverly Hills, California, where I treat all the major celebrities and sports figures and just anyone, really. But I've become known for my celebrity work and sports athletic work. But I've been doing this for over 26 years now, helping people to help themselves through the applications and the power of a natural organic state called hypnosis.
It's so fascinating for me to hear about hypnosis. But first, I'd love to just take us a little bit back and tell us about your career initially.
Sure. Well, I was in transition. And anytime in my life when I'm in transition, I always go back to academia. So I found a college over in Tarzana, California, that taught hypnosis and clinical hypnosis. And I thought, wow, what a fascinating thing. I've always had an interest in learning hypnosis since I was a small boy and didn't really understand it. I would see some stage shows locally at the college, and I just thought, that stuff's a bunch of nonsense. It doesn't work. It's just what they do. I wasn't really understanding any of it, but I did have a fascination with it. So I was in transition and I needed some college credit to work out and finish up my degrees. So I thought, wow, this is a win-win situation. So why not? So I signed up for the program, and I was still a non-believer. And where I come from originally is from New England. And New England is a very conservative environment. It's very closed off and sheltered. And so the stuff I was getting into was not considered what it is today. It was more on a negative side. And even I got a lot of pushback from my own family. But I still thought, wow, this is a fascinating opportunity. Why not take advantage of the opportunity that's being presented before me? And so therefore I did, with still skepticism in my mind about what I was about to do. But I was getting college credit for it, so I said, why not? So I signed up for the program, and they started teaching. And I thought, okay, this is very interesting and fascinating, but I was still a non-believer because it wasn't really working on me, and I didn't really have a full understanding of what was really happening. My turning point was when we went on a field trip. And that field trip was at the world famous Cedars-Sinai Hospital. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that. And what we were doing was going on a field trip to watch a complete and entire C-section being performed with this famous opera singer. And we were told that the doctor was going to do hypnosis, but he had already prepped her for 6 sessions. So what we were supposed to watch was a C-section with a person under hypnosis. So he comes into the room, basically puts into a hypnotic trance very quickly. And she was given the suggestions that if she was to feel any pain at all, she was either to let out an opera note or raise her right hand to let him know that they need to get the drugs and the epidural and to just calm her down to be where she needed to be so she could feel comfortable. Well, lo and behold, that never happened. She never raised her hand. She never even let out a note. So I'm standing behind the two-way mirror, and it's about 50 of us in the class. I'm in the back, and I'm that class clown guy. And me and another guy were just goofing, and we weren't taking anything seriously. But when that moment happened, as you can imagine, my jaw dropped down to the floor, and I just could not believe what I was actually seeing through the applications of hypnosis. So from that point forward, which was earlier in the studying program, I decided I'm going to take this a little bit more seriously. And so therefore I did. So I started making the changes on myself. The first thing that I did was I stopped biting my nails. And that was a huge challenge because I had been doing that all of my life, and I had no tools. I had no willpower to stop. I tried everything imaginable, and it wouldn't work. Well, the hypnosis worked. So that was the first. Second thing for me was I wouldn't even normally take interviews like this. Of course, nobody was wanting to interview me back in those days, but I wouldn't even go to parties. I was a very shy, introverted individual where I couldn't even have a conversation one-on-one with someone without feeling conscious about myself, low self-esteem, all of that. So, of course, I changed that in hypnosis. I now lecture and perform in front of 20, 30,000 people. And so that is also a testament to the applications of hypnosis. And, of course, there's so much more on the list, and I continue to change my life and help others and show others how to change your life through the natural organic state called hypnosis.
Talk us through the general format of hypnosis.
Well, hypnosis is done with words. It's not like you see on TV or in the movies or like these incredible posters that you see on the back here. Those are original posters, movie posters, and this one here is from the 1800s, from the great jester, who was world famous, and he toured with his stage production show doing hypnosis. And there's one more behind me. It's called A Spell of the Hypnotist. That's another movie poster. It's not like you see in the movies. It's not done with the hypnodisc, and I don't stare in your eyes, and I don't get a pocket watch. Notice I didn't bring my pocket watch today. As a matter of fact, I don't even know where that would be today. So that's not how it's done. But in the movies, they sensationalize it, and we see what we see. Even up to the recent movies, they're still sensationalizing it and making people believe this is how hypnosis works. That is not how it works. It works with words and a sentence structure that the mind understands. And so I'm acting as the computer programmer. So just visualize, imagine, think about that your mind is a computer. And so I'm the computer programmer. And since we have that little voice inside of our head that talks to us all of the time, and sometimes that voice talks us right out of situations we should leave ourselves in, so it becomes a very negative voice. So I'm the voice of reason, rationale that you allow to speak to your subconscious mind, the most dominant part of your brain, to change the behavior. So you have to understand this. All behavior is learned behavior. So if it's learned, guess what? We can unlearn it. Unfortunately, we're not taught tools in our school systems and through our growing up periods of how to change negative behavior in our lives. Well, once again, this natural organic process called hypnosis is that tool to help us to change the negative belief systems into positive belief systems. So therefore, if you want to lose weight, stop smoking, confidence, stop biting your nails, the list is endless. Whatever it is that you think about that you would like to change with the applications of hypnosis is possible.
That is a great segue for my next question.
Excellent.
What are some of the things that people nowadays are coming to you with?
Nowadays, it's about the pandemic. There is a lot of stress and anxiety happening in our world, and it's all created not only by the environmental resources that are there, but by ourselves and our overthinking and our anxiety. And all of these things is a dangerous combination, allowing this situation that we've been in now for about a year or so to create more of a negative environment for ourselves than positive. And so that's the current of what's really happening. I would say the dominant of people calling and just wanting the tools, wanting to have an understanding of what this anxiety and what this stress is, because it's unlike anything they've ever experienced before. And so it's very concerning to everyone. And so they want to learn tools, they want to learn skills, they want to learn applications to help them through these very difficult, trying times. And so hypnosis is that tool.
Some people are concerned about losing control with the hypnotist. Can you shed some light on that?
Yes, that's a very common question as well. That's a very big concern for everyone. Because again, what they see on TV and in the movies, that they're losing that control. Interestingly enough, it's quite the opposite. When you go into a true hypnotic state, you're much more in control of what is happening. So all of your senses, sight, smell, touch, sound, everything becomes increased and amplified by more than 10 times when you're actually in a true hypnotic state. And let me give you an example. Very early on, when I opened up my private practice, what happened was I was on the third floor. And on the third, down below was construction happening, but this construction was 2 blocks away. So my first experience with this, because again, it was all theory and just like I'm explaining to everyone now, I didn't really quite understand that. But when I actually got to witness it, I was, again, pretty amazed as to what it was. Because once I had that particular client in hypnosis, they were actually hearing a conversation between the construction workers. And they had asked me, is there somebody outside of my office door who's having a conversation? Because it's very, very clear to them. And the building that I was in is a medical facility with other therapists in there as well. So it was a very quiet environment. There was no one outside of the door speaking. What they did actually hear was that conversation with the construction workers 2 blocks away when they were in that hypnotic state. So there's an example of how much more in control and much more powerful one is when they go into a true hypnotic state.
So when people come to you and say they can't be hypnotized, do you take that as a challenge? Because like with me, when people come to me and say, oh, I can't, stand being in a meditative state and I can't do it. I feel as though I could, run my nails across a chalkboard. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I certainly don't take it as a challenge whatsoever, because I'm not here to I'm here to be a guide and a facilitator to people, to educate, uplift, and inspire them to understand what this true application is, this natural organic application is, and to utilize it for themselves. If they don't, then they don't. It's a very spiritual journey with me. And you did speak about meditation. And it's just like prayer, by the way. When you go into prayer and you're very centered and focused, it's the same effect. I truly believe prayer is the higher power of everything, but that's another podcast for another day. But it's not about me taking on the challenge. I explain it as best I can. I educate them as much as I possibly can. And you have to understand, like I opened up this conversation, I was on the other side of this. I come from a very conservative background. This stuff wasn't medically understood at that time. I had a lot of pushback even when I graduated from college and opened up my own private practice, until lately, within the last 5 or 10 years, it's become mainstream a little bit. People are starting to understand it and utilize it. So that's all I can do, is really educate people to understand that, hey, either you take advantage of a natural organic resource that's out there for all of us to take advantage of, or you don't. And if you don't, that's on you. And if you do, obviously, I'm going to give it all, my 100%, to help you to continue to understand it and take full advantage of the power and the resources of it.
Does hypnotism have long-lasting effects if it is used for weight loss or smoking, or do they need to come back for a refresher?
Right. Excellent question. Now, that really depends on the individual. So let me give you another example. I do a lot of lecturing, and I have two companies. One, my clinical company is called Mind Growth Technologies. My entertainment company is called Deep Sleep Entertainment. So I have the opportunity to travel the world and, again, lecture to thousands, millions of people a year. So let me give you an example of just a smoker. During one of the lectures, an individual wanted to stop smoking, and they did that very, very quickly during that process. And that was forever. Now, that was that particular individual. So it really is individualistic and on the person's personality and how they feel they're ready to proceed with it. So that person obviously didn't have any concerns or fears or any reservations about what was about to happen. They trusted the process completely. They understood who I was, and they just allowed the process to work. So instantly, after 40 years, by the way, 2.5 packs a day, they allowed that process to take effect. And that was within, I would say, 10 minutes. Now, that's pretty phenomenal. And that's amazing information. And of course, over the last 26 years, I've seen phenomenal things just like that. So I could tell you all kinds of stories. But getting back to the question, it really depends on the individual. So generally on, let's say, a smoker, that could take anywhere between 1 to 6 sessions. And it also depends not only on the individual, but also depends on the hypnotist and their skills and what technique they're utilizing and how they're understanding how that particular client's brain functions, so they're able to get in there pretty quickly. Obviously, I've become who I am with the reputation that I have because of my work and because of my methods and how their applications help people quickly and rapidly. Same thing with weight. Now, weight's a little bit more difficult because that generally starts to happen in the pre-adolescent stages and carries over into our adult life. So there's a lot of behavior change that has to take place. So that could take a little bit more than 6 sessions, but I've had great success with 6 and under of allowing people to lose weight. But again, it really depends on the individual and how they allow the process and trust the process to actually work.
Is there any chance that something could go wrong during the hypnotism and backfire on your client?
No, absolutely not. A lot of my sessions nowadays are telemedicine. So I'm either doing it directly, how we're doing it now through a Zoom application, but most of them are done straight over the phone. That saves a lot of time, a lot of network error, and just a lot of complications we avoid by doing it directly on the phone. I have a lot of clients all over the world, so they can't make a trip to California, especially now with the COVID conditions and everything. It's impossible to do any travel for some people. But I've been doing this for over 15 years to maximize time. So telemedicine for me, I now teach that to others and others in the medical industry so they can understand how to utilize it effectively. So you have to understand, I'm doing hypnosis straight over the phone. I don't even see the individual. They don't see me. I might do an initial consultation or initial session the way we're doing it now over a Zoom platform or Skype, but generally it's over the phone. So sometimes, as we all know, the cell phones or the whatever phone they're on drops out, and they're already in the middle of a hypnotic process. Wow. So what happens? Ooh, it sounds pretty frightening, doesn't it? But it's not, because what ends up happening, because like I said earlier, we're very much in control of what's happening around us. So what ends up happening is we come out of the hypnotic state, just like we do out of a natural sleep state, and we basically pick back up the phone, call the number, and we resume where we left off. So there's never, ever a time when anyone's in hypnosis where it could be dangerous or threatening to them in any way. No.
What is the strangest thing you ever hypnotized someone for, and did it work out?
Wow. Well, I get requests for everything, especially nowadays. There's all kinds of things that are so fascinating and interesting to me. And I never take it from a position of judgment because everyone, including myself, I'm human. So I have issues that may be embarrassing or overwhelming for somebody else, or not to somebody else. So I can't sit and judge that. I can only take for what someone is coming to me to want to have success and achieve their ultimate potential, and really have a control over if the negative, if it's interfering with their lives. So some of the things that resonate with me, and you can actually see them because they were done on national television and national television programs. So a couple of things that stick out for me is one of the celebrities had come to see me, and the whole format was based off of not what general people would want to come to therapy for. It was actually about vulgarity, and they didn't want to have any more vulgarity in their life. And this was from a celebrity. And when I first received the phone call, they told me, we're going to televise this. This is part of the show. You do what you do, and we're just going to film it. And if that's okay. And I said, absolutely, because even they thought it was an odd request, but that's what that particular individual wanted. And so therefore, that's what we proceeded to do. And was it successful? Absolutely, positively, because they were ready. All I did was, again, guide them through the process, because that's all I really am. I guide people through a process and allow them to access their higher power. Therefore, they change the negatives into a positive, and they're able to fulfill their lives to the maximum potential. So you can see that online. The videos up on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. You can see it all about it. It's a great piece, so that's one of them, among many other things that other people might consider odd or strange, especially in my industry, because again, hypnosis has that stigma to it still to this day. And that's okay with me, because I utilize that. And I educate people to understand, hey, it's not that. And then once they understand that and they experience it, then they start to realize, wow, this is a powerful tool. Why are we not taught this? So. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like with meditation, it's one of those self-care tools now that are so prevalent. Can hypnotism help someone with depression or anxiety?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Those are the easy things, and what most people have in their lives, by the way. So those are the easy things with the applications of hypnosis. To me, again, everything's easy with the applications of hypnosis, because again, the technique, and I've been doing this for 26 years. So for me, it's just allowing the individual to experience, and them allowing themselves to experience that process to allow them to help themselves. So depression, anxiety, no matter what it is that you think about, the applications are endless when it comes to this modality.
Does hypnotism change a person's personality in any way so that they will appear to be noticeably different to others?
Absolutely. Once you experience it's like the meditation you keep speaking about. When you really see a person, especially a spiritual person who's a believer in Christ and God, you can just see their whole demeanor, their whole personality is at peace. In the spiritual world, they call it bearing the fruits of the Spirit. Worldly talk is you can just see a whole demeanor of an individual change. Once they access the tools and this power, they become very relaxed. They start to see the entire world in a whole different way. So therefore, once one does that, it's automatic that your physical body is going to react and change to that.
You had mentioned about celebrities coming to you. What kind of things do they want to fix? I know there's a lot of curiosity about that.
Yes, there is. Absolutely. And it's no different than anyone else, quite frankly, because we're all human. And they just have these special gifts, just like I have the gift of what I'm doing. You have the gift of what you're doing, Lisa. And the listeners have their own special gifts, whether they understand them or not. I encourage you to explore them and understand what your gifts are. So therefore, you can actually give back and contribute back to the world. And again, help others to help themselves to, and that's your legacy, you know. But they come just like anyone else. They're human beings. They have the gift of acting and allowing us to be inspired by them, or feel happy about their movies or the television programs. But when they're not acting and doing their gifts, they have issues just like anyone else. They have weight issues. They have alcohol issues, substance abuse issues. They have smoking issues. They have anxiety. I would say the majority, just to give you a little insight, anyone in the public eye has tremendous anxiety, stage fright, confidence, because it's an unnatural territory. It's not natural for us to get in front of cameras, audiences of 100 people, 50 people, 1,000 people. Those things are not natural. So a lot of things happen in our head space and our physiological body, and so that anxiety and that stress takes over. So a lot of the industry, the entertainment industry, which I work within, that's a lot of the concerns, that they want to have more of that confidence, more of that focus and that concentration, which, by the way, it's also with the sports figures, because I work with a lot of athletes as well. And that's a lot of what they're looking for too. They want that focus. They want that concentration. Runners call it a runner's high. Some athletes call it the zone. They want to have that focus. They want to have that ability to block out anything that's going to distract them from their gift of what they're trying to produce to become, in this case, in sports, winning. So if you just watched the recent Super Bowl, you'll listen to a lot of the interviews with Tom Brady and how he's always about the focus and who he is and why he's the GOAT and why he's become who he is, not only because he seeked out professionals to help him understand how to stay in that zone and to stay focused, but that's what he talks about. And again, it's not like, oh, well, Tom Brady can do it, so I can't. No, anyone can do it. You just have to allow yourself, apply yourself, and do it.
What are your self-care routines like these days? Mine.
Automatically, absolutely. And this is what I teach everyone once we get through certain sessions, self-hypnosis. Mm-hmm. So my self-hypnosis is probably like your meditation or your yoga. But here's where I stand on the self-hypnotic process. It's the hierarchy of everything I just talked about. The reason for that is because when you're in a self-hypnosis state, which is, again, is very identical to meditation, yoga, all of these things, the difference is I'm not open, my subconscious mind is not open to the environment. And as we know, the environment can be negative. No matter how much we try to control the environment, we're still getting in negative influence. And so when you're in a meditative state, et cetera, those influences can still be obstructing where our mindset is. When you're in a self-hypnotic state, which again, by the way, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. When people come to see me, I'm the guide, I'm the facilitator, helps you get to where you need to go. But once you get where you need to go, I teach you the self-hypnotic process so you're not able to do it with yourself. Once you feel you can't do it, then people come back and we're on another path. But the self-hypnotic process is the most powerful because you're controlling the entire state and you're also controlling the environment. So no negatives whatsoever are getting into your subconscious mind, which is the mind that programs us. It's not that conscious mind. It's not the mind that everyone is using currently to listen to this program or watch this program. That's the conscious mind. The subconscious mind is 88% of your brain's capacity. That's the mind that's really controlling everything that we do, and that's positive or negative.
So if there was one thing you wanted people to take away from this conversation today, what would that be?
I would suggest that everyone really look in the mirror and really, and this is a very difficult thing to do for most people, is to really look in the mirror and really look at yourself and say to yourself, what is it that I'm looking for out of life? What is it that I want to achieve? How do I want to leave my legacy? What is it that I want to do to change my life so I can be an inspiration to others? And then therefore, once you understand that, is to seek out the tools that you need to achieve the goals. And of course, my opinion, hypnosis is that ultimate tool. Now, there's other tools out there, absolutely, positively, and you have to find the tool that works for you. And this is what I generally tell people when they come to see me for therapy. Finding a good therapist is like sometimes trying to find a good dry cleaner. I know for me personally, in the city I live in, there's probably a dry cleaner every other block. But I took a long time to find the dry cleaner that I wanted, who did my dry cleaning the way I wanted it to be done. Now, are all dry cleaners the same? Pretty much. They're pretty much the same. But the one that I'm working with and have been working with for years does things the way that are a little more towards what I'm looking for in a dry cleaner. So it's the same thing with the tools that you seek in life, and the people you surround yourself with to help you through this voyage, this journey that we call life.
The people you surround yourself with, that speaks volumes. And I'll leave it at that. So awesome, Kevin. So if people are listening to this and they want to try hypnosis, tell us more about how they can connect with you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity, and this opportunity, by the way.
My pleasure.
I don't take all interviews. I get probably 10 calls a day for interviews, and there's only specific ones that I do take, by the way, and that's because I feel that the platform, like your platform, is doing a positive thing and allowing people to really decide for themselves. We're not pushing it on them. We're not trying to force it on them. Either you get it or you don't get it. And if you don't, that's fine. Hopefully you're going to get it where you want to be and how you want to get those things in life. But to get a hold of me is my website, hypnotist.com. Pretty simple to remember. That's HYPNOTIST, because believe it or not, even when I punch it in sometimes, I spell it wrong. And so it comes up a little weird. But it's hypnotist.com. Now, here's the great thing on that website. It's not just about me. It's about tools. There's a tab button that's called resources, and you can go there and learn so much more about what we're talking about here today in this program. There's also a lot of free resources on there that I put up there, so you can access those free resources and utilize them. Any questions, you can email me. I answer my own personal emails. I may not get back to you as quickly as you would want me to, but on a good day, I might, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But it's so simple, hypnotist.com.
Perfect. So awesome, Kevin. I loved having you. Thank you so much for all the things you do to help people through hypnosis and to lead better lives.
I'm so humbled by this experience, Lisa. And so this is what I'm going to do for your listening, watching audience today. For the next week, 1 week, if you email me from the website hypnotist.com, I will send you a free, valued at $175, hypnosis, self-hypnosis audio, MP3 format. It'll be a download. You'll get that self-hypnosis if you email me with the subject line of this show that you watched and listened to this show for 1 week. We'll make that free and available. That's $175 value. And you can learn what we've been talking about, which is self-hypnosis. And you can learn it right there from the MP3 audio.
That's a special extra reward, especially for people who really listen to the podcast till the end. So gracious of you, Kevin. Thank you for coming on and your willingness to have this discussion with me today.
Anytime. I'm humbled, Lisa. Thank you so much. And I look forward to meeting everyone who's listening or watching this podcast.
Thank you so much for listening. Kevin is truly an amazing person, sharing his gifts, and he's helped so many people reach their potential through hypnosis. You know, it's these mindset shifts that truly make a difference. If you like this podcast, share it with someone and be sure to leave a review. Till next time, here's to